This is the ultimate Twilight Longbows guide you need. So in this video I'll be sharing few tricks and tips which will level up your gameplay with the help of Twilight Longbows. Not only that, I'll be showing best decks and the best combinations of heroes and everything which you need to know while using this card to its max potential. So do it till the end and let's get right into it. I would like to give a general idea about Twilight Longbows before we start. So Twilight Longbows is a legendary card. It deals high damage but has high cost at the same time and a low speed rate with a huge range which it covers. It has an inbuilt ability which lets you switch to what it targets. So it can rather target the highest HP enemy or it can target the enemy closest to the exit. You can use it depending on whatever you may prefer to get first. The tower's abilities are quite interesting. For an example, the support blades turn out to be one of the best abilities it has. The support blades harassers are really good in terms of tanking, but not only that, they can actually deal decent amount of damage while doing the tanking, and they have a huge rally point, so you can actually use them in a lot of lanes at the same time if you build it on a right spot. When you actually use it against the boss, it actually works out pretty well enough, but you do need to strategize here and there. I will tell you about that a little bit later on in the video, but for now let's just understand how you are supposed to use the tower. This tower isn't a spammable tower as it has high cost, so the tier 1 and tier 2 are really bad. At least tier 1 is not decent at all. It's not worth to keep it that way. So just in first wave, you may consider getting yourself into level 2 or even 1 barrack and then getting it and start upgrading slow and steady instead of building another one straight off. So you can actually focus on upgrading one to at least level 2 or maxing it out and then focusing your way to building another of the Twilight Longbows, which can actually help you just keep yourself in together in the game while using this tower, because it won't deal as much damage you are expecting at a low level, so you might need to get it to high level and then build the other towers and build other Twilight Longbows to support it. But by then, just focus on one tower each at a time. Don't spam this tower, and that is exactly how you need to use it. There is one thing with Twilight Longbows: they don't have piercing like musketeers do, so it's very hard to fight against them against physical resistant enemies, and that's exactly where sabotage comes in. Now sabotage is a must regardless you're using this deck. Sabotage and polymorph will be must, and I will show you the decks with it too, but these two are just must when you're actually utilizing this tower in my eyes, because you would require yourself to get rid of the physical resistance, so your Twilight Longbows can deal a huge amount of damage to those enemies too if it targets it, because this tower, it targets enemies in a very weird way. You can actually predict how it's gonna do it, and that is one of the things which you need to utilize while using this tower. It can be quite complex, but once you get used to the thinking, you can actually use it pretty well enough. Now here comes another thing, Sorcerer. Sorcerer is another tower which actually supports this tower a lot due to its effects. And with it, Druid is just amazing. It helps you slow down enemies. Now what else can I talk about? Stalling is very important when you're using this tower, because it may deal a lot of damage but it still is a slow tower. So slowing down enemies, stalling enemies is just gonna be very beneficial while using Twilight Longbows overall. Now in terms of heroes, I would like to talk about a few of the heroes which I like to use while using this tower. Let's start off. Top 3 choices in my eyes are Barasad, Raylan, and Magnus Spellbane, as they are very much better at ending the wave fast or getting you more gold. And other options are Ice Cult, Elora, and Vesper, but always remember what level you have them on. The one which has the most level is going to be turning out to be the best proven hero, so consider using it based on your level and where you are in the game, because you can end the waves faster compared to Ice Cold. Because if you see yourself getting Ice Cold and you face a flyer enemy, now this is the point where you're gonna see yourself suffer a lot in early waves and you'll be giving more gold rather than gaining it. So early waves is the best way from which you can actually farm gold. So having something like Magnus, Belbane, Beresad, or even Allura helps you out a ton in getting more gold. Whether that's through just waves ending fast or that's through Beresad's ability. Both of them works pretty much well enough. Always remember, if you can get yourself Merchant of Death's booster, always get it, because it's just gonna help you. You don't need to max it, but just get it to a certain level that you get enough gold which you actually need. Talking about the decks, this is the first deck which I love using. Now it's pretty simple. We have Barbarians, we have Ice Druid, we have Twilight Longbows, and on the 4th tower position you have Sorcerer. Now here you are gonna be lacking a lot of magic damage, so this is where you need to get a little bit more conscious on how you're actually dealing with the physical resistant enemies. The worst one is going to be the Forsaken Valley, where there are a lot of physical resistant enemies, where this tower may not prove out to be the best choice out of others, yet it still works pretty much fine enough in my eyes. How you're going to use Sorcerer? Well, it's pretty simple. You don't need to max this tower out at all. You'll be getting it on one position from which it can actually support the Twilight Longbows, and when it does do that, now you can actually get the resistance to a little bit low level, and Twilight Longbows will be able to perform a lot much more better than what they used to do, and that's just going to be a very good way to actually deal with enemies. You can build a choke point in which there is Glacial Druid, there is Barbarians, there is Twilight Longbows, just positioned in a way it can actually attack in multiple lanes. Good spots are something which you need to understand with Twilight Longbows. Avoid getting the artillery spots. Artillery spots are those where you can actually have artillery attack in a more distant way compared to any other tower. So the more space it has, the more area it can cover is better spot for an artillery. And for archer tower or sniper tower like Twilight Longbows, you may consider putting it somewhere it can actually make up to 2 lanes, attack 2 lanes in late game when it's maxed out, and get you in a better position, to say the least. A lot of maps, but here are a few of the maps where I can show you how the spots can possibly be like. Now another thing, Twilight Longbows have proven out to be very well in Onslaught and Coin Farm. It is an event menace card in my eyes, to say the least. It can counter Necromancer so much well enough, just because it gets that boost, and that just works so phenomenally well that you can just use it against the Necromancer user and he's gonna be countered. So at the moment, Necromancer is a meta in Onslaught. Now we have a counter to that meta, which is really great to see. But now here is another thing. You might not need to get yourself the second ability of the Twilight Longbows, which disrupts the abilities of the opponent. Now that is something which I think is really interesting. You may consider yourself getting that when your opponent hero is in a bad position where he might not be able to get out of that situation unless his ability activates. For an example, Beresad's Scream, which actually helps the opponent out in just surviving that death wave he's suffering through. In those situations you may get it, and it may turn out to be a very good decision, but majority of the time you won't consider yourself using it unless it's very much necessary. So I hope it makes sense. Don't use it, rather get support blades and focus on other towers. Understand that. Here are a few of the decks which I love using with Twilight Longbows and Coin Farm and Onslaught. It works pretty much well enough. You just need to understand how to use it, and once you do understand it, it works out pretty much well enough. You're just going to be utilizing Twilight Longbows. Don't build them too much, because what you need to understand is the gold efficiency in these modes. You won't be getting enough gold to actually build all of these towers, so you need to be aware when and where to spend the gold. So if you don't think Twilight Longbows are going to be well enough, you may consider not using it and just start off with Barbarians and Glacial Druid with your hero. That works out pretty much well enough. As you have seen the decks, one thing to be mentioned, use them according to the maps, because sometimes in Onslaught there can be flyer focused decks where you may need Tesla, and in Coin Farm you may need Dwarf to be available there to just stop all of the enemies from coming in. So you really need to adapt use deck according to your playstyle. Do not forget about that part, because many people do forget about it and then the deck doesn't work out. So understand the map, what map it is today, and according to that use the deck. Make modifiers to this deck. You can use it as you like. Always remember, experimentations are always needed. You don't need to copy everything from here. You can always be a little bit yourself in the game and it would be better for you. As you now finally understand how to use this deck and how to approach your way while using this deck, now I'm just going to be playing one game with this deck so you can also have an idea in live performance how actually this works. I'm using Vesper, of course, and I just wanted to show a little bit skill that even with Vesper you can actually execute this deck pretty well. Now, first of all, start off with the balloons, of course. That is something Ice Cold has a hard time dealing with. I will start with building this tower just right there, and let's see how it goes around. Vesper's gonna stay there. I don't have enough gold for dealing with enemies just right off the bat, and apparently this arena is best for Twilight Longbows in my eyes, so we're in a good situation to say the least at the moment. Boost wave might feel a little bit slow, I would consider. As for archery scouts, they're not really much needed. I forgot to change them apparently, but barbarians perform way much more better than archery scouts. Everyone knows that. So yeah, that's basically it. That's great so far. I will start off with making this choke point just right here where I can execute in the best way possible. My opponent has an Archmage, so he's definitely going to use teleport. I have my Twilight Longbows just right there. We're in a great position so far. There is armadillos. I would love to get an armadillo over here. Let's get them, and if he gets it too, then it's gonna be quite annoying, no doubt, but let's see. And this freeze is also gonna be very much annoying. Instead of building another Twilight Longbows, I would rather just keep it as it is and just upgrade this one first to the max level, and then I can think of getting it to some other level I would consider. By then I'll just get this, so I can just have a little bit enemies being slowed off at the back, you know. It's just always great to have that. And as that's happening, I'll just upgrade Twilight Longbows once more. Perfect. Alright, so my opponent is also kind of suffering, not really, but we seem to be in a better position than him, because he's definitely suffering in getting rid of those balloons in the beginning. So yeah, let's see. Upgrade them a little bit more. This one will be able to attack there too, so that's great. I'll go with Armadillos again, because that's one thing, if maxed out, can be really hard to deal with. So if I can get that, it's just gonna be great. Time this perfectly, use Thunder just right there. Just look at that, how perfect is that? Vesper may die there, but it's fine. He tanked a little bit and I forgot to micro him, that's my fault definitely, but yeah. Let's get the support blades just right there, and let's micro Vesper a little bit behind. Now I may think that I need to upgrade this now. Definitely not a may. Upgrading the Glacial Druid because I need more better AoE over here, definitely do. It's definitely ahead in terms of wave securing, but I can rather go with damage or use Armadillos, and I think he has a weak spot in his barrack part, so he might not be able to deal with this in the best way possible. That's just my assumption, of course, but I think that should be the case. I'll try to get rid of the left lane first, or the downward lane first, and then the bow lane will be prioritized, because this guy is really annoying. Getting a little bit extra gold, I'll take it. That is perfect. Alright, so now I can go with level 4 armadillos. I'm not sure how it will go ahead for us, but I have good hopes for it. Getting as much value as possible out of that. And when that's happening, I'll make sure to do this. He maxed out bandit leaders, which is quite interesting to say the least, because I usually don't go with it. We also have an insta-kill available with the polymorph, I would consider, with the sorcerer, but I would like to see how it goes first and then do anything else. Alright, my opponent seems to be suffering, and just like that I just won. So even if I didn't use that, I think I still would have managed to win this battle, and I hope you can understand where this concept is going with me using this deck. Regardless, you're using Vesper, Allura, you're using Magnus Spellbane, you can use Beresat. It really depends on how you actually pursue yourself using this deck, but more than that, this is exactly how I like to use it. For more reference, you can definitely check out the live stream I did with this deck using the Onslaught decks and just having fun while doing amazing games with it, where there were many clutch games too, which will definitely help you understand how to actually use this deck. And make sure you check that live stream out. I have linked it in the description down below, or you will see it in above cards. Make sure you check that live stream out if you are finding any reference for this deck. And this video helpful. If you did, consider subscribing. It personally helps me out a ton. I put a lot of efforts into these videos. It would personally be amazing if you could do that. And until there, keep on rushing.